So it's hard for me to explain all of my dreams because um, they there was a lot of my dreams that intermingled with each other. I would have this one dream and it would start going along, and then all of a sudden I'd have another dream, and then it would go along, and then a couple of days later I'd go back to this other dream, and I'd kind of pick it up, and they would intertwine. But uh, I have uh, I have a dad and I have a stepdad, but I call my stepdad my dad. And I haven't seen my biological dad in 14 years. We had a misunderstanding. I kind of offered him an olive basket, and I saw it as he was spitting in my face, and I guess he saw my olive basket as an insult to him, and so uh, our last phone conversation, he hung up on me and told me, said, "I'll see you when I see you," and then he hung up on me, and so I call this dream Gary to the rescue. Gary is the name of my biological dad, but he was a carpenter in real life, and so he could build anything. It used to blow my mind the things that my dad would build out of with his hands. I remember he took a post, like a 4x4 post, and he whittled it down into perfect replica of a Coke bottle. And he took this. He was working at a refinery for a little while, and he took these pieces of cork and he made this reindeer for us. Whenever I was real little, I bet I was probably 2 or 3 years old. My parents got divorced whenever I was about 5, maybe 6. I can't remember exactly. But so every year, every year at Christmas, this reindeer was basically the elf on the shelf way before elf on the shelf ever existed. And so, this little reindeer would fly around, and every night we'd find him or every morning we'd find him in a different place. And so my dad built this for us, and I still have that reindeer to this day, and it flies around my house, and my kids get to enjoy it at Christmas time. So anyway, that being said, my dad was he's a big carpenter by trade, and this dream was in black and white for some reason. It's the only dream that I had that was in black and white. And so when I was a kid, I used to go to work with my dad sometimes. He'd have to work on Saturdays and things like that whenever he'd have custody of me. And so I would go to work with him, and I'd go out there and go play in the dirt pit, and not dirt pit, but the foundation dirt, things like that. And so in this dream, I was a kid, and I went to work with him, and there was another kid there, and my dad was building a movie set, and it was like an old Western movie set, and there was, on like movie sets, outside fascia, facade, whatever you call it, it looks authentic, but the inside is just hollow. There's nothing there. It's just framed up. And so me and this kid was, playing, and I was talking to him, and it seemed like there was something wrong with this kid. He seemed like he was mentally challenged, but something about him told me that he wasn't really mentally challenged. He just played the part of mentally challenged, but he was manipulative so that way he could get his way. And so we were sitting there, and we was inside one of these saloons, and my dad was working on a different part of the set. And this wasn't like a set that was inside of a theater. This was a set that was like in the field. And so he was working on another part of the set, and me and this kid was kind of playing together, and he was playing with his Hot Wheels, and I was drawing with chalk on the ground. And we went inside one of these saloons, and I was sitting there and I was playing, and I was down there on my hands and knees, just focusing on what I was drawing. And all of a sudden, I heard this wood creaking, and I looked up, and that kid had pushed that interior wall over on me, and it was just plywood and studs, but he pushed it over on me, and I fell on my side. And I don't know if you've ever fallen or had something fall on you, but when you fall on your hands or on your back, you can do a push up, you can do your legs, you can press it, you can get out from underneath it and maneuver your way out. But when you land on your side, you're pretty much bowed up. I mean, it had me like this, my arms was in front of me. I had no strength to move my arms out to the side, and had my legs pinned by my hips. And I was telling that kid, I was like, hey, help me, this wall fell on me. And the kid was laughing, and it was just kind of this cynical little laugh. And I heard him driving his little Hot Wheels, just and then he drove it up on that wall. And I said, no. I said, get off, go get my dad, you got to help me. I need help. Go get our dad. Go get your dad. Go get my dad. We need an adult. And that kid just ignored me, and he kept driving that little Hot Wheels, and he started walking up that wall, and I could feel every step that he took, that wall just got heavier. It was just compounded because it's like a lever, and he got right on top of me, and every time I would breathe out, that wall would, crush me a little bit more. But then whenever I go to breathe back in, I couldn't reinflate my lungs enough to spread that wall, open it back up, and breathe more. So basically, every time I'd breathe out, when I'd breathe back in, it would suffocate me more. And it was getting to the point where I was scared. I was kicking my feet, just like thinking, if I fight hard enough, I'll figure out a way to get out from underneath this wall. And this kid, he knew what he was doing. He was trying to suffocate me. He thought it'd be cool to see, someone die in front of him, I guess. And he just was making those little car sounds, I just remember it. And I was just about to pass out. Like, I was taking such shallow breaths because I was trying not to let my lungs collapse, because I knew that I wouldn't be able to breathe anymore. So I was taking real shallow breaths, but like my head was getting heavy and everything was getting dark. And then I heard footsteps coming towards me. And all of a sudden, my dad grabbed a hold of that wall, and he just flipped it up and threw that kid off the wall. And he grabbed me and he lifted me up, and he got down on one knee and he was dusting me off, and I was crying, and he put his arm around me and he patted me on the back, and he told me that everything was okay, that it was all going to be okay. And then we walked out of that movie set, and I just remember looking around at all the different sets and the things that they had built, and there was like a laundromat, and just I don't know, I guess the image is like stuck in my head of what everything looked like whenever I was leaving. And so then I fell asleep. I was alive, I survived, but in this coma, I would sometimes, dreams would end with me dying, and sometimes dreams would end with me falling asleep. Sometimes when I fell asleep, I would come back to, and I would just pick up the dream right where I left off. And so, but this was, that was into that dream. And so, my dad came and he picked that wall up off of me, and, he rescued me and told me everything was going to be all right.